Good morning, YouTube, or good afternoon, YouTube. Today is November 30th, and I just recorded my day 29 video just a little bit ago, and it was pretty awful. So I thought that I would spiff up a little bit because this last question is also sort of unusual, and I don't know that I have a lot of good good content for it. So I decided that I would also go back through this month's comments and pull out some questions that I got from you guys. So without further ado, this is video number 30 for my 30 videos in 30 days project for the month of November, which is Transgender Awareness Month. And since I've done 30 videos in 30 days, I am calling the project a success because I have a low bar, and because I'll take any win that I can get. Even though I had about, I think a total of like 7 videos that didn't go up on the day they were supposed to, I did go back and backfill them, so you have 30 whole videos. So today's prompt from the 30 Days Trans Challenge that the Miserable Muse did on DeviantArt is write a haiku about being trans. So I will just get that out of the way. I am transgender. Sometimes that makes life... No. Sometimes it makes my life hard. Oh well, such is life. There you go. Or I am transgender. Sometimes it makes... I don't know. I had it, but I think that'll work. Anyway, so off to the Q&A. Which, you know, it dawned on me that I really missed the first time I did this, the first couple times I did this. Instead of calling it Ask Brin or Brin Q&A, I should have called it like Brinquisition or Brinterrogation. But I think I like Brinquisition better. So that's what you get today. You get a Brinquisition. So on video number, let's see, day number 6, which was who was the first person you came out to about being trans, Shy Girl to Be wrote, talk about perfect timing to tell your friend Amanda your secret as she revealed hers. In all honesty, she told me her secret, and then I felt comfortable telling her mine. So there wasn't so much luck as calculation. I'm glad to hear that it gets easier to tell others you're trans each time you come out. And then here's the questions. Do you have any suggestions for how to pick the time and place to come out to someone as trans? Is it better to tell them I'm a crossdresser or just that I'm transgender? Do you think it would help or hurt if I wore panties and or a bra as I came out to them? Ooh, boy, that's a lot. Okay, so picking the time and the place. You want to pick a time and place that you and the other person have a high success or high chance of feeling comfortable. So, you know, don't do it in a loud bar or, you know, in a crowded, noisy restaurant. It's probably best to do it, you know, at their home or in your home, just so long as they know that they can step back and take a minute and go, you know, they can leave if they want to, so they're not obligated to stay there and have their reaction in front of you. You know, so sometimes it's a lot of news to process. You know, it's a lot of information to process. And on BGN, the best success we've come to, or the most successful plan that we've come across is to do it in small chunks. So, tell them that you have something you want to talk to them about, and that you are absolutely willing to answer questions and that the subject isn't closed after this conversation. So if they go away and they read some stuff and have more questions, they can come back to you and, you know, continue the conversation or ask you questions. You can tell them that you reserve the right to not answer a question you feel is too personal. You know, that you will give them as much information as you can give them and that they're ready to hear. Okay? It's also useful to have some resources to point them to. So, like, PFLAG website, maybe HRC, I don't know, GLAD, you know, just other websites you can point them to, especially like trans websites. So, oh my god, I cannot remember what it's called, the task force, the National Center for Transgender Education, something like that, or maybe it's NTCE, I don't remember, but, you know, do some Googling on your own to find resources that speak to you, that sound like your own truth, so that you can point them there and they can process it. They can process it on their own. Let's see. So, do that. So, you know, try to have a safe space to have the conversation with them. Try not to overwhelm them with too much information and too much, like, granular detail and too much terminology that they may not be familiar with. Start simple and say, you know, I want to talk to you about myself. There's some things I've been struggling with for a long time, and I finally have enough of a handle on it that I'm comfortable sharing them with you, and I understand it may be, you know, it may be news to you, it may be difficult information for you to hear, but, you know, here's the story. I am transgender, and, you know, what I would like from you is to stop using he and him pronouns and start using she and her pronouns, and my new preferred name is this, you know, or the other way around, you know, please stop using she and her, start using he and him, and the name that I want to go by is this. You know, try not to overwhelm them. So, you know, your question is, like, should I wear panties and a bra? Absolutely do not only wear panties and a bra, as I think that is just going to shock them into being unable to listen to you. Okay? And that's pretty much a general rule. There are no big conversations you should have in your life only in your underwear. Okay? I mean, I guess maybe there are some very particular circumstances where that's acceptable, but this is not one of them. So yeah, so start small, be open to questions, have resources available, and make sure they know they have an out. Let them, you know, step away. Also make sure that they know that this is not negotiable, that this is not something that you are looking to discover a compromise on. This is who you are, and this is who you are trying to be in the world, and that you're asking for their cooperation in that. Okay? Yeah, so I think that's all of the answers I have on that one. Let's see. Okay, so then on video number 14, Me Too Michelle-MTF Vids asked, "Hi, Brin. I hope these questions are not too personal. If they are, then my apologies and no need to answer. As you've been on hormones for some time now, 4 years, do you find it progressively harder to pass as a cis male at work? Do you disguise your breasts, or do your work colleagues just think you now have man boobs?" I actually replied on the webpage, but I don't find it any harder to pass as male, especially around people who are accustomed to reading me as male and or expect me to be male, especially if I'm not out to them. So that has a lot to do with, like, a lot of people at work, you know. No one expects me to be trans. everyone expects me to be male, so people have a tendency to see what they expect to see or what they're accustomed to see, and they discard information that falls way outside that expectation or might contradict things they know as fact. So, you know, I work from home, so I can, you know, I don't have to try to, you know, maintain any particular presentation at home. If I'm at work, you know, then generally a baggy shirt over built-in bra camisole tends to conceal everything that needs to be concealed, and then I pull my hair in a ponytail and wear no makeup, and then, you know, they see a guy, that's what they're expecting to see. Anything that looks sort of out of place, they just throw it away. Or, you know, I don't know anyone well enough at work that they're going to feel comfortable asking me weird questions anyway. Let's see. And then Eva Geerlings said, hi, thanks for the video. Do you actively need to work on keeping a particular presentation, or does it come automatically once you've chosen? For example, you have clearly different speech patterns and gestures than as Paul than Brin. Do you ever notice a crossover between your presentation? No, pretty much once I've, like, dressed the part, the presentation comes pretty easily. And you know, I simply have enough practice at it that I can, you know, sell whichever presentation I'm looking for. However, that's when I'm, you know, let's see, I had a word for this. When I'm deliberate, you know, when I'm making a deliberate effort on the part of one presentation versus another. But when I'm at home, you know, there's much more blending. There's much more of an in-between space. And that's just my more, you know, sort of natural level. And, you know, there's no deception involved there. It's just that Paul versus Brin in public, you know, I'm looking to force people's perceptions down a certain path. In the same way that when you go to work, you give off a different presentation than you do at home. You know, generally your work persona is different from your home persona, and there are consequences for mixing the two. You know, if you come home from work and you're still, you know, ambitious and hard-charging and uncompromising with your partner the way that you would be at work, potentially, you know, that's going to cause some strife. And if you are relaxed and familiar and, you know, not as professional at work, that's going to cause problems too. You know, but they're both still you. They're both still aspects of you. The same way Paul and Brin, you know, the very distinct presentations are both aspects of me. When I'm at home or in a neutral location, you know, there can be more blending of it and everything's fine. You know, or around people that I'm, you know, comfortable with. It doesn't have to be, you know, like most of my friends, family, whatever. I can find that middle ground and there's no real harm done. You know, really the forcing of a presentation is more a matter of safety, because I want to make sure that, you know, I don't get bashed and etc. So yeah, that's that. I think that was it for comments on videos, questions. And then SmartBoy2 sent in a bunch of topics for videos. Let's see, what was the more noticeable change for you during your transition, mental or physical? Both, actually. I mean, I know it's a bit of a cop-out to say, but really both were extraordinarily noticeable for me. And, you know, there was a feedback. So the more my physical changes aligned with what I wanted, the more, you know, I had a little more peace of mind in my mental state, you know. My dysphoria came down, and my ability to give the face that I want to, or present the face that I want to the world, put me at a lot more ease in my own life generally, you know. Oh, Smart Boy is Alexandro, who has interacted with us on some Brin Live events. I think it's the same person. So, thank you for the questions, by the way. If I could give advice to myself before I started transitioning, what would I tell myself? Go faster. Do it sooner. Just know that you're on the right path. You know, I went off of hormones twice. Both times learned that I'm really happier on HRT than I am off of it. My body feels right. My reactions are my physical sensations are different and more in line with what I want in my life. I don't know. I don't know. I think that this was absolutely the right path. So whatever decision matrix that I used to get here is the right one, and so I wouldn't have to advise myself against anything. Just, reassure myself that I'm on the right path. Let's see. Do you believe that the representation of transgender people has gotten better or worse in today's media? It's hard. It's a hard question to answer. A lot of it has to do with, trans women especially get really shitty representation in media. And in fact, I'd argue that it's not representation so much as it is exploitation. The vast, vast majority of trans women you will see in media are, A, sex workers, and B, dead sex workers. Every police procedural, for some reason, has to do at least one episode where the victim is a dead trans woman, and then they proceed to use the next hour to misgender her, to make jokes at her expense, and to, exploit her story. So that's a problem. But then, on the other hand, we are getting stuff like Laverne Cox's character in Orange is the New Black. And yes, she's in prison because as a trans woman of color, she was already going to have a higher chance to either be the victim of violence or in prison or both. However, the nice part of her character was that she wasn't a sex worker. And there's nothing wrong with being a sex worker as long as you're doing it by choice and not out of a lack of other options, because it's not easy to find employment as a trans woman. But this particular character was a firefighter, and she had been committing credit card fraud in order to pay for her transition. And she got caught, and that's why she was in prison. So it wasn't a matter of violence or, sex work or anything like that. It was a white-collar crime, and that's why she was in prison. And she was portrayed sympathetically and as a real character and, as a person, My dog wants to come in. 1 sec, okay? 1 sec. Come on. Come on. Bless you. Let's go. Good girl. Sorry about that. Okay. So that's good representation. On the other hand, there's a show called Hit and Miss, or Hit or Miss, something like that. That is an assassin who is a trans woman who finds out that she has a son from pre-transition, and she's got to try and form a relationship or something like that. I've not watched the show because I think it falls right in line with that Dress to Kill sort of oh my god, what is it? Trope, Like it's the sociopathic trans woman. So anyway, so there is some change in the representation that we're getting away from the exploitation, but I just had a conversation with somebody on YouTube who insisted on using the word tranny because he had seen trans women on Jerry Springer used the word, and they identified themselves that way, and so he felt completely entitled to use the word. Like, that's shit that still happens in this world, you know? So there are still problems with the representation of trans people. I think trans guys tend to get better representation in media than trans women do, because as a culture we celebrate masculinity, so a trans man who is transitioning into a male social gender role and presentation is automatically more respected than a trans woman who is transitioning into a female social gender presentation and role, and away from that masculinity, away from that empowered male representation. People don't understand why you would give that up. So I think there's still a lot of difficulty there, and a lot of inequity between trans men and trans women, and as far as representation goes. What's a phase, style, trend, fad that you went through during your transition that you can look back at and laugh about today? When I first started to transition, I wore a lot of fake glasses and scarves. I wore fake glasses because I didn't like my nose, and actually I had surgery. I didn't get a nose job, but part of the effect of the surgery was that it evened out the slope of my nose away from like this. And if you look at my earlier videos, you can see there was like this hourglass shape to my nose. And it was something to do with like collapsed valves and a deviated septum and a bone spur all working together, and it gave my nose this really bumpy shape. So I used to wear fake glasses to hide it. And of course I have a rather prominent Adam's apple, and I used to wear scarves to hide that as well. And I finally got to the point where I was read as female, or I was read in the presentation I wanted to be, whether I wore them or not, and it has so much more to do with confidence. Beyond a certain level of presentation, it has as much to do with presence and confidence as it does with, particular clothing options and that kind of thing. So I don't know about laugh, but I'm certainly more confident in not needing them today than I was 4 years ago. And what's one of the most saddest, toughest moments from transition that made me who I am today? I think about this time last year, it was the first time I'd really had any kind of sense of exclusion because of my choice to transition, when I wasn't invited to a party. And, mostly I'm over it. It just gives me a better idea of, the consequences of transition, and the kinds of things that I can expect out of some people because of that. And I think some of them may actually even watch this video, and the fact is that it was really hard at the moment in that period of time. And I've made a lot more peace with it, but, it certainly drove a wedge between me and some of the people involved. And not just the party organizers, but some of the other people involved, too. And it just set a different level of expectation for me, for my interactions with them, and, what I can... what I can reasonably expect as the kind of respect that I keep using the same words, but it lets me know where I stand on a lot of things and where they stand, and how I can be, how I can expect to be treated regarding this whole topic, because of... Stop it! Just because of not just the actual incident itself, but stuff that's happened since then. There's been some distancing. It's really put a lot of space between me and some people, And that's fine, you know? I mean, it really is okay. I think as long as everyone knows... Would you stop? As long as everyone knows what to expect out of everyone else, I think that, you know, we can all interact just fine, you know? But, you know, that was probably the hardest thing that I've had to deal with, you know, as regards to my transition. Which means that I'm extraordinarily lucky, you know? I'm very lucky in that I can, I don't know, like, everything else is fine. Like, that's my worst problem. It could be so much worse than that, you know? I have a home and a family, and I have a lot of friends who don't have any, you know, problems with who I am, or it doesn't affect our relationship in any significant way. You know, I have a job, and actually I have a line on another more profitable job, maybe even in the short term. You know, so I have a lot to be thankful for. My kids totally accept me for who I am, and while they have some adjustments to make sometimes, you know, they're great. Like, I am extraordinarily lucky. Let's see. Oh, and then I did have one more on video number 4 from CopperandCutGrass. How did your family take it when you came out? If you don't mind me asking, will this mean that you have to be out at work and your daughter's school? Seems like you would have to be for at least HR and school admin, assuming you have to show ID when picking up your daughters. Anyway, this has to do with the idea of changing my name. I talked about it in video 3 and 4. I don't have to show ID. I mean, I would have to change my name on official paperwork for work and for the kids' school, but it doesn't mean that I have to be out. People change their name for a lot of reasons. And so, you know, I don't really have to go into why I'm changing my name from X to Y, and my last name is not changing. So, you know, I can... It's entirely up to me, and I have no plans of coming out at the kids' school because I think that that's going to cause a lot more problems than it would solve, you know. So, yeah, so that's that. Thank you for all the questions and comments this month. Thank you all so much for watching the videos. I know it was a lot, and this is the longest one by far. I did have one 20-minute video. Most of them I kept under 15, and even most of them were under 10, which I think is a win for me. There's Jax. So, he's going to need to go outside. Alright, thank you. If you watched this whole video, I really appreciated it. If you watched this whole month, I appreciate it even more. I'm going to try to do another Brin Live at some point. I thought about maybe doing it for the end of the month like I did last year, but I didn't plan it, so it didn't happen. But anyway, leave me questions and comments up here in the inbox, down here in the comments. Find me on Twitter at BrinConvenient, on Tumblr, brinconvenient.tumblr.com, and, of course, always at the forums. I am Brin, on bigender.net/forum. Love to you all. I hope you had a wonderful month. I know that I did. Thank you.